Looking forward to this. Warren, thank you for the invite. Guys, you do not want to miss next month. Jonathan Lewis is a friend of mine. He is phenomenal. He is a man's man. He will get in your face and challenge you, won't he? The man is bold. The impact he has made with his life is massive, and he loves speaking to men. So do not miss next month. I promise. I've sat with Jonathan quite a bit, had coffee, and every time I leave challenged, and I grow every time I'm with him. So, man, you got a good one. So thank you for having me here as well. Hey, most important thing is this, and hopefully you guys will be able to see, because I got something we're going to be looking at in just a minute. But this is the most important thing in my life right here, a picture of most important people in my life, and these are my 6 grandchildren. And you will hopefully appreciate this picture because it was taken at Christmas when we were downtown Charleston. They were all hyped up on candy, and so getting them to sit down and get this picture taken was quite a feat. But that's our 6 grandkids. That's my wife Cindy, and then this right here is Banner. This is Brandon's son. And just look at his hair, look at his face. That is Banner to a T. That describes his personality. He is full on living life all the time. I'm just crazy. And then poor Miller, that's Mike's daughter. Where's Mike at? Mike's in here somewhere. My son-in-law. That's his daughter. She's going, Lord Jesus, why did you put me in a family with this kid? It's great. A lot of times as I'm traveling and speaking, people will go, hey, are you related to Brandon Lake, the worship artist? And I say, yeah, I actually am. I'm his dad. But it's so funny. I was at the doctor the other day, and I'm leaving, checking out, and I walk up, and the lady behind the counter said, are you related to Brandon Lake? I went, yeah, I'm his dad. She went, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm actually his dad. And she went, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I promise you, I am. The lady beside her went, Laura, he's pulling your leg. I said, all right, I'm going to prove it. I pulled my phone out. All right, there you go. This is me and my son. We're doing a podcast together. This is me and my son, right? Doesn't that prove it? She went, no, that doesn't prove it. It just proves you might have sat down and done a podcast with him. I said, all right, well, I got another picture. Okay, let me show you the next picture. Now, I want you to look at it very closely. What if we took his hair and put it on my head? All right, now when you see it similar, that's my son. Right? It's undeniable, right? And so, anyway, we're proud of him, proud of the work that he's doing. Somebody mentioned, Greg mentioned the marriage conference. Greg, I was speaking at I got invited to speak at a marriage conference in Hawaii. And the guy invited me. I said, yeah, Cindy and I will be Hawaii. You know, yeah, I'll be there. I was excited about it until I found out who I was speaking to. He said, there's only going to be 12 couples there. I said, oh, it's okay. It's still Hawaii. Yeah, I'll go speak to 12 couples in Hawaii. And then he told me who they were. He said, these 12 couples are multimillionaires. They have anything and everything they want in life. And we want you to sit down and for 2.5 days, want you to challenge them, want you to get in their face, pull stuff out of them, and really challenge their marriage. And I thought, so he sends me a list of their bios. I'm looking at these people and what they've accomplished and what they've done, and I'm like, I'm intimidated. Warren, I'm thinking, no, what do I have to offer these guys, right? And they're some of the best leaders on the planet, you know? I was shocked, absolutely shocked, as Cindy and I began to meet with these couples and begin to dive in. You know what the number one question was? How do I be a spiritual leader in my home? I feel like I'm failing as a spiritual leader. I go, wow, these guys are leading huge, massive organizations, and they don't know how to lead in their home. We were on tour with Brandon at his on this recent concert tour. And if you've not been to one of his concerts yet, on the King of Hearts tour, there's this, probably about midway through the concert, he breaks into this set of songs. He sits around a piano, and the piano is just littered with photos, and it's photos of our family. And he sits at the piano. He just starts leading acoustically from the piano. And he starts singing songs about home and family. And throughout that little segment, I was so proud of him. He stops and he leads from his heart. And he starts talking about the revival that's happening in our nation. By the way, if you're not aware of it, it is crazy what's happening. Every city I've been traveling to this year, I've been asking the pastors and the groups I've been with, how many of you are seeing revival in your churches? Hands are going up everywhere. Yes. And then I'm asking them, describe who it is. It's young men in their 20s. Just spoke in West Virginia. Lady comes up to me. She said, I lead the campus ministry in Fairmont, West Virginia. The most we've ever had attend our campus ministry is 5. We have 90 young people in our group now, mostly led by the football players and the basketball team. I mean, they're just on fire for Christ. It's crazy. And in this segment, Brandon's talking about the revival. And he said, guys, here's what we need. If this revival is going to sustain, which I believe it will, if this revival is going to sustain, it's going to take faithful families and fearless men. It's going to take fearless men. But how in the world are we going to have fearless men take the lead if men are sitting there going, I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to lead in the home. I don't know how to be a spiritual leader. And can I tell you, there's a misconception that I believe we have. There's a misconception that spiritual leadership is a hat that I put on when I pull in the driveway, when I pull in the garage. I got to put on the spiritual leadership hat, and now I got to lead spiritually in the home. Man, if that's your concept of spiritual leadership, you're missing it. Spiritual leadership is not a hat you put on when you walk into the home. Spiritual leadership is a hat that you never take off. You wear it daily. You wear it no matter what environment you're stepping into. And it's breaking my heart. I was in Chicago. I was speaking at a conference there, and they had 2 men get on stage. These men were volunteers in a church, and they got on stage to give a testimony before I spoke. And they said, we want you guys to stand up and give testimony about leadership. And both of them stood up and said something like this. Well, I'm not much of a leader, but... And this guy was leading a small group in his church. But I'm not much of a leader. And the next guy stands up. Well, I don't consider myself a leader, but... And then he went on and gave his testimony. I couldn't help it. I got on stage. I said, guys, I'm sorry, I can't let that go. I gotta speak to this. You two guys, hey, I appreciate the humility. Okay, I appreciate the humility. But I hear so many men and so many people who are in leadership positions go, oh, I'm not much of a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm going, why? Why do we say that? Why do you label yourself that way? Why do you limit your potential that way? Why? You know why? Because we're defining leadership culturally. We're not defining it biblically. There was a survey done in 2020, and it was they asked who are the most admired men in, I'll come back to that. Who are the most admired men in 2020? Look at this. Barack Obama, Bill Gates, Xi Jinping. What? What? But what does this represent? What does it say? It's our cultural definition of leadership. Power, prestige, popularity. But wait a minute, how does Jesus define leader? That's what I want to know. Because you see, I want to lead like Jesus. Yeah, maybe these men have had some sort of impact. But Jesus started a global movement that has yet to stop and is actually gaining traction still today. I want to lead like Jesus. And I want to call more men to step into leadership. Now, you're going to need to scan this QR code because some of you are not going to be able to see very well what I'm going to share with you next. And I don't want you to miss this, okay? And I'm just going to preface this up ahead of time. There's no way in the world I'm going to finish everything that I want to cover with you today. I'm going to try my best. But I want to challenge us to lead like Jesus. and take on that challenge. But you need a definition of leader. We got to define leader not culturally. We got to define it biblically. And so what I want to do, if you define it the wrong way, a lot of guys are going to go, oh, power, prestige, control. Okay, well, I want that. Or some are going to go, I don't want that. I'm not that. So what I want to do is I want to look at a definition, how Jesus would define leader. Okay, if he were sitting here with us right now, how would he define what a leader is? Different than the world defines it. So I was wrestling with that one day, and I started studying through the scripture and studying through the life of Christ and say, if he had to define leader, how did he define it? And I believe there are 3 words that he gives us that gives us clues, okay? The first one is this. He said, hey, you guys, he's telling his 12, hey, you guys, you got to be a slave of all. You have to be a slave of all. Now, that Greek word means devoted to another with the disregard to your own interest. That's a leader. That's a leader. I will set myself aside and I will sacrifice what I want for what you want. Are you doing that in your home? Are you making your wife sacrifice what she wants for what you want? Are you leading sacrificially? It's a servant. That's what a leader is. It's a servant. It's not somebody who takes charge. It's somebody who says, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What do you need? I want to make you better. I will do whatever it takes to serve you, to make you better. I mean, imagine that attitude with your children. I see so much in you. I want to bring it out of you, and I will serve you. I will get you what you need. I will do what I can to maximize your God-given potential. That's a servant. And that's leadership. What else did Jesus say? Man, he said, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples. What's the word disciple mean in the Greek? You know what that means? It means a learner. It means a learner. You never stop learning. You never stop growing. And it kills me because I watch so many men who've just settled for mediocrity. They have stopped growing. They've stopped growing. They've stopped believing in themselves. They've stopped pouring into themselves. And you've heard it said, when you stop learning, you stop leading. I don't think that's true. Here's the way I put it. When you stop learning, you stop leading well. Because you are leading your home. You're leading your kids. But if you stop learning, you may have stopped leading well. And so we got to be a learner. And then the third word, oh my goodness gracious. Jesus pulled them together and he designated them as apostles. This word is fascinating. This word, 400 years before the life of Christ, this Greek word was used to speak of an admiral of a ship. A king would say, sir, I want you to get in the ship and I want you to explore the coast and I want you to find unconquered territory. Find land that has not been colonized yet. And I want you to pull your ship up on that spot and I want you to build a colony. And I want you to build a city that's reflective of my culture. That's an apostle. I call an apostle a culture shaper. That's what a leader does. So let's put these 3 things together. When you put them 3 together, you got to serve, you got to learn, you got to shape culture. Now, look at this. Here's what a leader is. Let me step over here so I can read it. A leader is one who is continually growing in the likeness of Christ. That's the disciple. Okay? They're guided by the Holy Spirit to skillfully provide care, direction, accountability, and development of a group or team of people or family of people, uniting them, that's the apostle, to humbly serve the church, community, and world. That's the slave. That's what a leader is. That's what a leader is. And once you define it, you can strive to become it. But the problem is so many of us, we've not literally defined it. And if we have, we've defined it culturally, not biblically. And this is the leadership that Jesus is calling us to. It's what he called his apostles to. And it's what he used. He developed in them and used them to change the world. Absolutely mind-blowing when you look at the difference. Now, here's what I want to do. All right? I want to talk to you about spiritual leadership. But I want to talk to you about leading like Jesus. Like I said, I'm not going to get through all of this. What do I have? 5 after? Is that what I have? So, okay. So we got a few minutes. I'm going to get through as much of this as I can. Now, years ago, I started studying through the life of Christ. And I wanted to understand Jesus. I was like, if I want to be more like him, then I'm going to dedicate 3 years to studying the life of Jesus. That's it. I might do some light reading on the edges, but I am going to study the life of Jesus. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to study it in chronological order. So just start studying, episode by episode by episode. And here's something that's fascinating. Many people don't know this. When you read through the Gospels are pretty thick. That's a pretty thick read, right? When you read through the Gospels, did you know that you only get a snapshot into 52 days of the life of Jesus? There's only 52, at most 59 days represented in the Gospels about the life of Jesus. So, in other words, if Jesus had an Instagram and he was posting once a day, that's every day that's represented in the Gospel, he would only have 52 to 59 posts in his thread. Now, here's what this tells me. It's not only important to know what Jesus did, it's important to know when he did it. You with me? So what I did is I thought, okay, I want to see this. So I laid it out. I apologize, you can't see it. Hopefully you got your QR code. Okay, and so I laid it out 26 through 30 AD, winter, spring, summer, fall, because I wanted to see the progression of what Jesus did to have the impact he had. So I'm going to give you a high level, and then I'll try to extract some leadership lessons for us so that we can learn to live more like Jesus. Right here, Jesus comes on the scene, and he's baptized in the fall of 26 AD. He immediately leaves. Imagine this. He shows up. Baptized. Oh, you are my son in whom I'm well pleased. Everybody goes, oh my gosh, Messiah's here. What does he do? Checking out, guys. Be back in 40 days. That makes no sense. Okay, now, then he finally comes back and John goes, there he is, behold, there's the Lamb of God who takes away his area. He's back, he's back. He meets 5, not 12, he meets 5 of his first followers right here. John and Andrew went, hey, where are you staying? He said, why don't you come and see? They grabbed 3 other guys and they hang out with him that afternoon. He says, hey, I'm going to go to a friend's wedding. So they go up to Cana. And they go to this wedding where Jesus performs a miracle, shows this incredible compassion towards this groom who didn't prepare very well for his wedding, and he secretly performs his first miracle. In private, these guys are going, what? What? And then he says, you know what, I'm going to go visit. He lives in Nazareth. I'm going to go 25 miles over. I'm going to go visit where you live. And he goes and visits them. Then he goes home, back to Nazareth, back into seclusion. Until Passover. He goes to Passover. Now, are his 12 disciples with him at this point? No, they're not. They're not. All right? So he starts his early Judean ministry. So much strategy in that. Won't have time to go into that. Then he moves to Capernaum where these guys lived. Very strategic move because he's moving to the international highway where every day there are traders coming through the international highway in Capernaum. Every day he would heal. And guess what would happen? This tradesman right here would go, mind blown, travel 18 miles the next day and say, you would not believe what I saw in Capernaum yesterday. You would not believe what I heard in Capernaum yesterday. And the gospel begins to spread. Remember I said it was on the international highway? It's now spreading across the world. So stinking strategic. Then, 1 year later, he says, follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. He calls 4, not 12. I want to disciple you. Not in leadership, followership. Disciples them for 9 months. Then right here, he appoints 21 months into his public ministry. He appoints 12 of them as leaders. Spends the next 6 months developing them. Sends them out 2 by 2 to do the very thing that he did, that they watched him do. And then this year right here, whoo, he's throwing fastballs, guys. He's throwing fastballs. It's at this point, you name any difficult saying of Jesus, you got to die to yourself. You got to, any hard saying, get behind me saying, all of those hard sayings came right here in this year. They weren't ready for the hard sayings here. Now he's throwing them fastballs. And then right here, he says, now, go be movement makers. Go make disciples of all nations. So that's the progression. Now, I want to show you a couple things. If we want to lead like Jesus, number 1, you've got to pursue solitude. I mean, doggedly, relentlessly pursue solitude. Men, we are either hurried or numbed. You're either living hurried or numbed. You are so busy that you can't find solitude. Or you're working and you're coming home and you're numbing your mind. You're numbing your mind. And the voice of God is not getting into your soul. You cannot lead with strength apart from solitude. And so many of you are looking for purpose, for meaning, for answers, for discernment around problems. You're looking for change in your life. You're looking for something. You're looking for power. But you don't have it. Because you are either scared of solitude or you don't understand the power of spending time with God. Now, I get it. I mean, like, I don't like spending time with God. Okay, let's look at why Jesus spent time with God, okay? Now, right here, I told you about his temptation. He disappeared for 40 days. 40 days of solitude. Let me show you on a chart. Right here, Jesus says, hey, I got to get prepared for this ministry I'm going to go do. All right, right here, he's saying, you know what? I just want some communion with God. Right here, he said, I need discernment. He prayed all night long right here. Why? Because he's getting ready to choose his core leaders. It's the most strategic decision he faced in his public ministry at this point. So Luke tells us that he went up on a mountain, he prayed all night without ceasing. The next day, he called all his disciples to himself, and he looked around what could have been hundreds or thousands and went, you follow me, you follow me, you follow me, and picked 12. Very important decision. Right here, he's grieving. He's grieving. His cousin, his dear friend, was beheaded. Right here, he's had a hard ministry day. He's just like, I got to have some time alone. I got to refresh. Right here, he's facing his crucifixion. And he goes to the Garden of Gethsemane and he's in distress. Why did Jesus withdraw? Why did he withdraw? These 6 reasons right here. Preparation. Now think about yourself. When you're pursuing solitude, okay, what do you need in that moment? Sometimes I just need to be prepared. The pursuit is alignment. And the key question is, Father, what are you preparing me for, and how can I align my heart and mind to be ready with what you're calling me into? Sometimes it's restoration. My pursuit is just renewal. Renewal, okay? Primary question, Lord, what needs to be renewed, refreshed, or healed in me right now? Sometimes it's discernment. Pursuit is wisdom. Primary question, Spirit, what do you want me to see clearly that I can't see through the noise right now? Sometimes it's grieving. The pursuit is comfort. Core question, God, how do you want to meet me in this pain? And what are you teaching me through it? And then distress, the pursuit is strength. I just need strength, so I need some solitude. Primary question, Father, where do you want me to place my trust when everything feels uncertain? And then communion, pursuit is intimacy. Primary question, Lord, what do you want to say to me? And how can I simply enjoy being with you? What do you need most right now? What do you need most right now? I mean, just look at this list. Which one of those do you need the most as you pursue solitude? Are you in a season of preparation? Do you need discernment? What is it? It's not just, I got to go pray. No, I've got to go. I got to go get alone. I got to go spend time with God because of this. I'll never forget, I was having a quiet time. I was out of town. I was having a quiet time in the basement of a friend. I always called it quiet time. My whole life called it quiet time. And that morning, years ago, God just visited me in that basement. And His presence was so real and it was so powerful. And I'd experienced that before. Sometimes it's a little boring in your solitude, right? But other times God meets you. Here's the thing you have to understand. There is the omnipresence of God. God is always with you. Sometimes I just have, in solitude, I have to trust the omnipresence of God. He's there. He's there. I may not feel it. But other times there's the manifest presence of God. And that morning I felt the manifest presence of God. And I said, I will never call it a quiet time again. From now on, this, when I meet with Him, is my daily encounter. It's my daily encounter. Because I want to encounter Him on a daily basis. So, are you spending time in solitude? Let me show you something else. This one is I think it's so important in our day. We got to see potential in people. We got to see potential in people. Can I tell you, it bothers me. I'm seeing on social media how children, teenagers, they're being labeled. They're getting these images about themselves that are negative, and it's destroying them. It's destroying the way they see their potential. Have you done this? Walk through a grocery store and you hear a parent talk to a young child and you go, you just want to slap them? Do you know what you're doing to that child? We got to speak life, not death. And so let me show you this. If we want to lead like Jesus, check this out. John 1, Jesus meets Simon. First time he's ever met him. It's that fall of 26 that I showed you. First time. And he said, look what he said. You are Simon. You will be called Cephas, which is Peter, which means rock. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm changing your name. Now, you got to understand, when a rabbi or prophet gave somebody a new name, it wasn't like, oh man, you're wearing a ball cap. I'm going to call you Cap. Oh, you got red hair. I'm going to call you Red. No. When a prophet or rabbi renamed somebody, it was a prophetic statement of saying, I see something in you and I'm calling it out of you. I'm helping you see something in yourself that nobody else sees. Now, let me show you this. That happened right here. He selects Peter as a disciple here, begins to disciple him. Selects him as a leader here, begins to challenge him. He elevates him among the other 12 and begins to speak into him. And then he continues to challenge him. Now, when did Jesus say the next thing? Well, the next thing Jesus says to him is very important to understand the location. I was here a couple years ago. This is Caesarea Philippi. And what you're looking at right here is a giant hole in the earth. In the first century, the people believed, this was a very pagan area, they believed that all evil and demons emanated from this hole in the earth right here. So what they did is they built a temple over that hole. See it right there. They built the temple and people would come and sacrifice, at one point babies, but mostly goats in that hole right there. It was an evil place. So Jesus takes Peter and the other 11 and he walks up to this space right here. And he says to him, Peter, who do you say I am? And what did Peter say? Let's see if we have volume on this. I don't know if we do or not.
But who do you say I am? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. These carved statues of Baal and Pan and other idols that we passed, they're dead and decaying, but we worship a living God, and you are his son. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. All your life, you've been called Simon, one who hears. But today, I call you Peter, rock.
I see something in you. I'm going to invest in you and pour into you. And right here, here's the test. Who do you say I am? You're a Messiah. You're the Son of God. And Jesus goes, you got it. You got it. Now you are rock. Now you're rock. I was speaking in Miami. I'll wrap up with this. So much more. Speaking in Miami. And Cindy and I arrived in Miami the night before. And I was 50 at the time. And this couple, they were 68. They took us out. Cuban coffee, Cuban meal. Had a great time. And next day I'm standing up, I'm teaching a room, a couple hundred people. And in the middle of my talk, I looked out and I see this guy, Dave, that 68-year-old guy. I said, hey guys, let me tell you something about Dave. It's right in the middle of my talk. I didn't plan this. It just sort of a bubble that happened in the middle of my talk, and it was very awkward. I went, hey guys, let me tell you something about Dave. Dave's incredible. And I looked at Dave in the eye. I said, Dave, I want to tell you something about you. And I started speaking into him and telling what I saw in him and encouraging him and just speaking life into him. Very awkward in front of everybody. His face is red, all this sort of stuff. And then that little love bubble popped about 60 seconds later. And I got back to talking what I was talking about. Into my talk. Dave's boss comes up. Went, guys, I was very uncomfortable with what Mac just did to Dave. Can I tell you why I'm uncomfortable? I'm 63 years old and nobody's ever spoken to me that way. And you know why else? Dave has worked for me for 12 years and everything Mac said about him is absolutely true. And not one time have I ever said that to him. Listen to this verse. Proverbs 18, the tongue has the power of life and death. And those who love it will eat its fruit. Those who love the fact and understand the wisdom that your words have the power of life and death. What you say to your children, what you say to your wife, what do you say to your employees? The way you speak to them is either giving them life or death. And you will eat of the fruit of your words. That's a promise. And the other one is this. Proverbs 12. The words of the reckless pierce like a sword. Recklessly using words, hurting our children, scarring them. And listen to this. The tongue of the wise brings healing. There's a young man, he called me. I met him 10 years ago. I was doing a training, and I noticed everybody in the room was picking on him. So at the end of the day, I grabbed him. I said, come outside with me. And we walked outside, and I looked at him. I said, hey, I'm watching how everybody treats you. They love you. That's why they're picking on you and teasing you and calling you names. But they're wrong. And I want to tell you something about you. And I just spoke life into him, truth to him. That young man started calling me on a regular basis to this day. I learned his story. I learned that he's the one who discovered, at 18 years old, he discovered his dad dead after he shot himself. His dad was a rough man to live with. His dad scarred words that scarred him. And the words that I spoke to him were life and healing. And he called me one day, a few years later, and he said, would you father me? I need somebody to father me. And nobody else talks to me the way you do. And that breaks my heart because I don't live in his city. I'm not around him much. I said yes, and I talk to him very regularly. But man, I don't want my kids to grow up like that. I don't want my grandkids to grow up looking for somebody else, some other man. Would you father me? When you lead like Jesus, you speak words of life that draw out the potential of people, that shape their identity and change the direction of their life. So guys, thanks for letting me be here, hang out with you, and appreciate you coming out this morning.